It's just directions I've been led, it's just one door opens, another door closes type of thing. Kind of a door opened in the motorsport world, and I walked through it. And that was 20 years ago. And I'm still managing to make a living at it. I think everybody dreams of being a race car driver when they're older. I mean, astronaut, firefighter, race car driver, but no one actually is a race car driver.
You can do anything, It's about mentally having the preparation to take that leap that a lot of people don't.
For me, when I'm in the car, it's almost zen. Like I was telling you on the way up, my heart rate doesn't get above 100 beats a minute. It's very, very calm, very, very focused.
Let the haters hate. And you know what they hate more than anything is when you don't quit.
Yeah.
And you keep going.
Don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid of pivoting. I think that's the number one thing.
And just because you've spent 20 years doing one thing doesn't mean you can't spend the next 20 years doing something else. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Auto Care On Air Carpool Conversations episode. We have a really exciting episode right now because we are at the peak of Pikes Peak International Hill Climb, and I am here with Robb Tinson, VT at Hella Aftermarket. Welcome, Robb. We actually have a bit of a past together. Mm-hmm. We used to work together at Schrader, Sensata. So it's kind of neat to finally get you on the podcast with me. So welcome.
Yeah, I was right at the beginning of Jackie's aftermarket career, so it is awesome to be on your show. This is great.
Yeah, it's a little scary. He was part of my onboarding, so if there's any complaints, you can go back to Robb Tinson. And then I'm also here with a very exciting guest, Robb Holland. He's the 2B. There's Robb with 2 Bs and the not to be over there. So that might be how I have to refer to them today. But he is a race team owner and professional race car driver, and will be driving tomorrow at the Pikes Peak race. Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
This is very exciting for us. And thank you, Hella, for inviting Auto Care On Air here. So this is going to be a great conversation. I reached out to our audience before this and gave them a little poll of what they wanted to hear us talk about today. And I was a little surprised, and I'm not shocked, but surprised to hear that the number one pick was about navigating career turns. What is it?
Pivots,
navigating career pivots. And I don't know how many people who voted on that knew about your career pivots. And frankly, Robb, 1B, your career pivots. So I think that this is actually a perfect topic for us. And we might go all over the place, but let's just see. Really, the main topic of this show is professional development skills. So I'm excited to see what comes out of this. So Robb, tell us a little bit about Robb 2Bs. Tell us a little bit about some of the career pivots that you've made, just to give us a little baseline.
It's weird. I don't ever consider them pivots. It's just directions I've been led, it's just one door opens, another door closes type of thing. So, but it has been pretty unique. I started kind of my athletic career, as a bicycle racer, and it was a thing that I did as a kid that developed into, a career that I was fairly successful at. But once that ended, I didn't know what I wanted to do and ended up doing real estate for a bit because Denver at that time was booming. And it was a good opportunity for me to get into, but I miss being competitive. And so, kind of a door opened in the motorsport world, and I walked through it. And, that was 20 years ago. And, I'm still managing to make a living at it. And, again, no career path. There was no, I woke up, when I was 5 years old and said, this is what I'll do the rest of my life. But, I've managed to make it work and enjoy it.
Yeah. And Robb, you had a career pivot.
I did. Born and raised in the automotive aftermarket, so I couldn't pivot too hard. I had to just follow kind of my roots and really what I'd grown up around. Really kind of trying to reinvent a brand and figure out, what is it that we need to do to kind of build on our long heritage. And so really took to a strong branding initiative and stumbled across Robb Holland. We had a program with him just prior to me joining Hella. And, we looked great on the car. But one thing that I needed to understand and really take a new approach to my career and really to help out our company was to find a brand ambassador. I mean, find somebody who can speak to the brand, drives a Porsche as a daily driver, drives an unbelievable Porsche for a race car, a couple of them, And so we like that connection. And so I pivoted to understand, okay, well, I need to know motorsports. Like this is new territory for me. So not a career pivot as much. I mean, somewhat like you said, I never really looked at it as a pivot. It's an evolution, but you know, to what Rob said, we're networkers. And so that it has a way of kind of finding your next path.
Yeah. Well, I was also thinking your radio career.
Yeah.
Tell about your buttery, deep,
buttery smooth voice.
The face radio. In short, the radio career was short. You know, there was a station in Boston that kind of made me feel like this is going to be a career. And that was quick, you know, realize that radio guys don't necessarily have families or for long. And so follow your roots.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I think something that I wish happened at a younger age is just more exposure to different types of careers. Or more talk about the fulfillment that comes from them.
I think it's a bit tough though, because I think until you're actually in it, it's really tough to know. I mean, when I came in motorsports, I had no idea. And I think, my ideas were formed by the stereotypes of what everybody thought race car drivers were. Like, were you these wild and crazy guys, your hair on fire and, whatever. And that's just, it couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, most race car drivers I know are very cerebral. They're very, down to earth individuals. And so, in fact, one of the best race car drivers I know worked as an accountant before he was a race car driver. So, I think until you've actually gone into the career and understood what it is, it's very difficult to kind of get the full view of what that really means.
Yeah. And it's almost like there needs to be some work done about like what's going to be important to you in your career. A lot of managers always ask that probing question, right? Good managers ask their employees, like, what's your motivation? Is it money? Is it status and title? Is it, just a fulfilling thing, like doing media, things like that really feeds your soul, competition. That's what feeds your soul.
Yeah.
Have those kind of conversations with people, because I think when people kind of get into their 30s and 40s, they kind of feel like they should have figured out their lives right now, and a career pivot starts to become kind of scary.
I'm 58 years old, and I didn't get into motorsports until I was in my 30s, and I think at the end of the day, it's got to be what is most important for you. I think that's, to me, I wasn't happy with the things that I was doing, and it wasn't like I was looking around for something. I think it found me more than I found it. And then I think you just have to be open for the change. I mean, I think from my perspective, that was the big thing. It wasn't like I'd ever, I think everybody dreams of being a race car driver when they're older. I mean, astronaut, firefighter, race car driver, but no one actually is a race car driver. And, when the opportunity presented itself, it wasn't something that I'd planned for, but I was open for it. And I think that's the biggest thing, is being open for the change and understanding what it means and embracing it.
That's so funny. Because Rob, you have kids. I also have kids. And I was just thinking, you tell them you can be anything you want when you grow up. But I'm imagining when they're 18 and they say, I want to be a race car driver.
You're like, nope. Why don't you make a real thing, like a real job?
I think Rob's kind of being kind. Maybe that's not the right word, but kind of being kind to that escalation or that pivot. You're a risk taker. And, I think you're not the fear of thinking outside the box. What is my next career move? I was talking to Paul Gerard's with us here in the top of the summit. And, Paul's got motivational speaking background and he's an author. He was telling me it's never, to your point about kids, it's never about, you can do anything. It's about mentally having the preparation to take that leap that a lot of people don't. As you get older and more defined in your career, you're maybe less, as you have kids, you're maybe less to make that jump, but mentally, I think it's a mental. You just have to be comfortable with it, and I think it's it could be the same. I never look at it this way, but with Pikes Peak and what we do here, it's I think being comfortable with the fear, comfortable with what we do, and it's I think the same thing, with a career pivot is just being comfortable with, hey, it's the unknown, but the unknown isn't necessarily bad, and it's not necessarily scary. It's just the unknown. Maybe there's something to if you do start to feel, even if you're 20 years into your career and you start to feel like you might want to try something different, maybe asking why, you want to be a race car driver. Why do you want to be a race car driver now? Or you want to do a completely, a pivot into the automotive aftermarket. Why? Is it because, you like the people, you like the industry? Is it because you like the competition and you like that, feeling of, being in control and, trying to be, navigate yourself up a crazy mountain that we just went up?
like thinking about why you're making these pivots, and it might help steer you direction of like, yes, maybe it's time for a pivot, but maybe you're going in this direction for maybe the wrong reasons.
Right. No.
How much of that is I felt like I've reached success and the level of comfort for me to make that next leap? Because for me, it's a little bit of affirmation. It's a little bit, I have to feel like I'm worthy. And then I have to feel like I have enough network around me. If I screw it up, I could do that. I mean, were you finding success in cycling to say I could do anything? Or was it like,
no, it was honestly, it was the opposite. It was the, I wasn't finding success. I knew I had reached the limit of what my ability was in cycling. And that was not, winning the Tour de France. And, for me, I'm a very driven, competitive person. And for me to have reached that peak and recognize that I'd reached it, was something that I just wasn't happy with. And I was like, okay, what else can I do? And so I kind of drifted and I said, like, I did real estate for a while and I still do that, but it wasn't something that was fulfilling. And so I was looking for that next thing to really kind of get to the point where I was happy and content with what I do. And I found that in motorsport.
So was it adrenaline? Or was it because you're an adrenaline junkie?
No, but I'm not. That's the thing. We've had this conversation. Well, she asked me and I'm competitive. That there's no doubt. I hate to lose. I love to win. But no, I mean, as far as
go walk out to the
no, I didn't. There's a long way down. I don't want to know what it looks like down there.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it is funny. I don't consider myself a thrill seeker. I'm actually, for me, when I'm in the car, it's almost zen. Like I was telling you on the way up, my heart rate doesn't get above 100 beats a minute. It's very, very calm, very, very focused. And I think that to me was one of the things I really enjoyed because it allows me to 100% focus on everything to the extent of the everything else in the world. Like there's nothing else in the world that matters at that moment but me making it to the next corner.
I want to know how that affects you in other areas of your life, like business decisions, right? Like, are you really calm? Or like, if you're in an argument with somebody, do you get back into that calm state and make sure you're thinking about everything clearly?
Yeah. So the one thing I say, and this is, it is actually very much a racing thing. When you're going wheel to wheel racing and you're being competitive, we have something called the red mist. And the red mist is that someone just pisses you off and you do something really stupid and you'll hit them and take them out and then you'll get a penalty for it and you regret it, or not. But I always say that if the other driver has made me emotional about something, then he's won. Mm-hmm. He's got me because now I'm not thinking logically. I'm not making rational decisions. I'm making decisions based on emotion.
Right.
And that at the speeds that we race at and the close quarters we race at, that's definitely not a good thing. And so for me, it's not having that. For me, it's if I can just be calm and be relaxed and in the moment, then that's where I'm the best.
Rob, one title we didn't mention, shop owner.
Yes.
So as a business person, as a shop owner, and I was going to say, like, what would Phil say about you as a boss? Like, what's that perspective of your shop owner? You're working on cars that, Jackie and I grew up,
there's a passion there for sure.
Environment. How do you take that shop environment? How do you grow your business? How do you grow your business and say, how do you invest in a new race car? How do you take 3R performance to another level, or where did you start and then ultimately got to a point where you're like, this is tough? Because, shop owners, I think, is one of the hardest jobs in our industry. Technician is the hardest for me because it's constantly evolving. But as a shop owner and as somebody who's very mechanically inclined, how do you take it to that next level?
No, I mean, again, it's the logic of it because you can be emotional about cars. I mean, cars are emotional. I mean, they're a passion. We love our cars. That's, I think, why a lot of us are in the industry. And so from that perspective, you can't make emotional decisions about the cars you're purchasing, the race cars I buy. I mean, there are a lot of race cars I'd love to buy, but they don't make economic sense for what the business model of what the shop is or what the race team is.
Would your father say that too?
Oh, my father would definitely say that. In fact, my father would say, what are you buying race cars for? Like, you moron. No, it's, but there is a business model to it that actually makes sense. And if there is that, then that's what you have to do. You can't say, ooh, that's the most beautiful race car I've ever seen. I'm going to buy that. You've got to go, hey, this is a race car that makes sense that in the overall scope of what our business model is. And the same thing in the shop. It's, figuring out the cars that we work on and how we go about it. It can't be an emotional thing. It can't be a passion driven thing. It has to be why you're there and why you work the, 12-hour days and the 7 days a week. That's the passion part of it. But the side of it that has to be logical is okay, how do you make money at these great projects?
Yeah. So we're at Pikes Peak. We're here for the hill climb. We did Fan Fest last night, downtown Colorado Springs, 40,000 people. Part of that was bringing a whole bunch of stuff down. And so we were fortunate enough to be able to ship a bunch of stuff to Robb's shop. And he was already here. I walked down. He walked into the shop, said hi to the guys, went, found all my stuff. But I had to take a tour inside the garage. So give me the visual of what's in that garage right now, because there's some gems.
No, I mean, and I don't even know what we have in the shop because I haven't been there in a week and it changes so much. But, no, we get to work on passion projects. We get to work on, and it's great because they're other people's passion projects. These are people that love their cars and they want to take care of them. And not only from a maintenance standpoint, but we do the resto mods and we do the race car stuff. And so, we've got, several Porsche 993s. We've got an RSR. We've got, a couple cool Corvettes. We've got a bunch of our race cars. So, I mean, we've got fun things. We've got everybody's dream garage. And again, that's why it can't just be passion. You can't just go and say, hey, I love doing this, so I'll work on your car and I don't need to make any money on it because it's so cool. It's a business. I have to pay the rent. I have to pay my employees. And it's the same with every shop owner. It's just a really difficult business to survive in.
Yeah. And on that note, and then I want to get back to a question about pivots, but do you have any thoughts on right to repair?
Yeah, I think everybody has strong opinions on that. And I do think that it's something that, everybody should have. We should have the right to repair, whether it's cars or cell phones or whatever. I do think that that's an important part to the industry. And I know that everybody's lobbying very hard for that. And I don't know where we stand. I don't know where everybody is on that and where it goes, but I know the manufacturers want to control as much of the information coming out of the cars as possible. And, I've always struggled with that because I never saw, again, these are passion projects. I never see a car as an information device. I never see it as a data driven thing. And so, it's hard for me to get my head around that.
A lot of people, do. Yeah. And that's something that is a huge priority of the Auto Care Association is, lobbying on the Hill for right to repair. Getting back to pivoting, Robb, not to be, has told me in the past that you are like an expert networker. And maybe that's not something that people think of if they're starting to think about a career pivot, that you have tools in your pocket to make that a successful venture. And your network is really one of them. So what are some things people can do to really think about their network as a tool if they're making a career pivot?
So for me, I'm big on organic things. There are people that are out there that are networkers. That's what they do. Their whole thing is trying to connect with people. And I'm the opposite. I just like people and I'm fascinated about people and I want to know people. And I think, that authenticity, is the best way to do it. I don't talk to you or I don't talk to Robb because there's a goal at the end of me knowing you. If there is something that comes out of it, great. From a business perspective, I'm happy that that's the case. But, and I think that having people, have those relationships, is the most important thing because it is the person that I can call 10 years from now and go, hey, remember I met you at this? Yeah, I remember. And I'm not the person that's asking for something. Oh yeah, we met, but the first thing you did was ask me for a job or ask me for this or whatever. And I think that's a big thing. I love going to the SEMA show or PRI and just talking to people and everybody there, like SEMA is getting hit up for sponsorship. And they're like, oh, you're a race car driver. You're talking to me because you want sponsorship. I'm like, no, I mean, I don't even do the thing that you make your product for. I'm just interested in your product because it's a cool product. And then 10 years later, you never know, that guy comes around and is, a guy that helps you do, move your career forward or take you in that different way.
And I'm sure that helps you in business just because you take the time to develop the relationship when you do have it ask.
Yeah.
Not like, somebody you said hi bye to at a networking event and, connected.
And I see that all the time. And in fact, I've gotten fortunate enough to be in the position that I'm now the guy that people want to network with. And I see that all the time is that the first thing is, Robb, hey, can I race for your team? well, no, I have a long line of very successful drivers that would like to drive for us. So thanks. I don't know you, but thanks for asking. But then you're going to call me again in 5 years and ask me the same question. So the only reason you know me is for something that I can give to you. I want to know people and network with people because I want to know them. I want to find out about them and what they do and their products or their passions or their motivations. And I think that's the most important thing we can do.
Yeah. And I think something huge for our industry on the auto care aftermarket side, which is most of our audience, something we want to see more of is innovation and new thought leadership, and not to wait to take cues from, the car makers, before we come up with technologies and things to help our industry really succeed. And a lot of that would take career pivots, right? People that are, doing maybe the grind at a corporate job, and they see a need and they want to jump off that ledge, but it's a huge risk. So do you have any kind of advice for how to look at risk, or every single situation is going to be different. So I don't think that there's a one size fits all, but do you have any advice for what's worked for you?
Well, as Rob said, that, I'm a risk taker apparently. So no, I don't.
What some would consider a risk, maybe you don't.
I think that's it though.
Your question earlier, I think is one word, because you and I share a lot of this, and that's curiosity. The organic comes simply because of the curiosity. I'm a people person. I'm curious. Rob's a very curious guy, and you feel that. And so, and I'm not a perfect networker. I try hard to keep in touch with people, and I'm terrible at it, but I'm curious. And I think that's something that I've enjoyed getting to know Robb over, is because he's constantly, what if we did this? What if we did this? What if we did this? And it's not, I want to do this. It's, what does that look like?
Yeah.
No. And I think there's in that, I think if you, as a person, you're looking at where you want to go and what you want to do, I think there's plenty of opportunities to try new things. And it doesn't necessarily need to be a full pivot. I think when people use the word pivot, it's a life change and career change and everything changes. And it's well, no, okay, this portion of your life can change, or this little tiny piece of what you do can change. And then that's the dipping the toe in the water. There's some people like me that are just like, hey, I'm going to be a race car driver, and then wake up one morning and that's what you do. But that's, I don't think that that's the way it works normally. I think it's most people are, well, let's take a step in that direction and see where it leads. And if it doesn't lead where I think it leads, well, then I still have this fallback with where I'm currently doing.
And I think sometimes people focus too much on what the path was supposed to be to get to where they want to go. And I think so much of your past can make you like you started off as a cyclist, but a lot of those skills and that mindset you learned probably makes you a different kind of race car driver that makes you very, very good at it. And that can be the same for me. I started out in sales. Mm-hmm. That made me a really good marketer.
But that's the thing. I think you take the skill sets you've learned from whatever you've done and can translate them into something else. And it might not be directly applicable, but that's the thing, is that people might not necessarily see the crossover between cycling and motorsports. That's sure, we're racing stuff, but where's the, one's got a human power and the other's got, 800 horsepower. What's the similarity? But I look at the things that I learned in cycling. I learned the spatial awareness from racing wheel to wheel with 200 other guys. I learned to be able to be focused under high stress situations, one from racing, but two from the physical nature of what it is that we did. And all of those things were able to translate into motorsports. And so when I made the move into motorsports, when I was learning things and coming up, there were a whole bunch of skill sets that I didn't have to learn because I'd already learned. I'd already been there. As a 12-year-old kid, I was doing these. And so now I could just focus on the actual art of driving the race car. And so I think, again, it's always looking forward for other things, but it's also taking the most of what you're doing currently, I think, is the most important thing.
You were talking about innovation earlier. And I know that the team in Denver at 3R are problem solvers. And so do you have an example of a project where you said, we designed this like garbage and we're going to solve this problem by doing this, doing that, whether it's electronical or it's fabrication?
You mean today? Because I can list a whole,
because the aftermarket is full of problem solving.
That's all it is.
Oui.
I mean, honestly, I think that owning a shop and working as a tech, it's, especially for what we do, because we're not a traditional shop in the sense that we do traditional service work, but we do race cars, which are a one-off thing. We do restoration projects. We can build a car from the ground up. We do all sorts of fabrication. Every single one of those things is problem solving in and of itself. So you look at the project and you look at the car as a problem to be solved, and now it's actually, when we look at, it used to be that we would take a street car and you can turn it into a race car. But now with the integrated CAN bus systems, it is almost impossible to do. It's very, very difficult. And literally now taking a street car and turning it into a race car and stripping all the systems out of it, it's the biggest problem solving thing that you can do. It's literally one problem after another. And so I think the people that work for me are the ultimate problem solvers. They literally started their career solving the most complicated automotive problems you can. And now they can take that skill set and now take it to whoever, our customers' passion projects.
Take it to manufacturers in the aftermarket to solve that problem.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
One more question and then we'll kind of wrap it up. But,
you're just getting winded at the altitude, aren't you? You're just
so fit. This doesn't affect me at all. Oh my gosh, I went up these stairs. He was trying to make me run.
Come on, it's not that bad.
Actually, it kind of catches up with you though. I felt really good when I got up the stairs, and
then 2 minutes later, you're like, wait a second, hold on.
I was in the bathroom, kind of with the group, and we're all just like
swaying a bit.
So yeah,
it's getting a little darker around the edges of your vision. Yeah, I get that.
So just last thing on career pivots. So if somebody starts getting into they kind of start a new role, or they're trying something different, and they're definitely finding it challenging. Mm-hmm. They're thinking about quitting. Have you ever thought about quitting? Have you ever felt like maybe when you got into racing, you're like, oh, this is harder than I thought. Getting sponsors is harder than I thought. This has a lot more, pieces to it than I thought. Have you ever thought about quitting or?
What do I do?
Life is harder than I thought. That's the thing is that I don't think that there's, so the short answer to your question is no. Life is difficult. And for me, it's facing those challenges and overcoming them. During, the economic recession in 2008-9, you find out very quickly that race car drivers are disposable items. No one wants to. When you can't pay your employees, race car drivers are superfluous. And it's a very frustrating thing to think that, well, one day I was valued and the next day that I'm not. And so, yeah, it is very frustrating. And it's not something that wasn't just a week or two, or that was 2 or 3 years of struggling, making a living at the thing that I was doing. But no, did I ever think of giving up? No, it's not in my nature. It's now, okay, this is tough. How do I overcome it? What do I have to do? And in fact, that's where I've ended up doing the stuff that's led me to Robb is that I recognized that manufacturers weren't hiring race car drivers anymore. So now I had to become a sponsor hunter and develop that set of skills. And that's led me to Robb and Hella and all the sponsors that we've had over the years. And so, no, I think it's now when you put an obstacle in front, it's just figuring out how to get over or around that obstacle.
There seems to be a trend there. I was at the WIMNA event yesterday, which is, you get it wrong. I don't know. I'm trying. Women in
Motorsport
North America.
Mm-hmm. And they had an amazing panel with
Michelle Mouton and Lynn St. James and all the legends in motorsport. Lonnie Unser.
And Michelle, having just gotten inducted into the Hall of Fame.
For the hill climb, yeah.
The Pikes Hill Climb Hall of Fame is a badge of honor.
I asked that same question to that panel, and it was like, did you ever feel like quitting? And if so, why did you stay? And I had Michelle answer. And I'm trying to.
I think Amelia Hartford, Amelia, really honest answer that I think took you kind of by surprise, which was cool.
Michelle's answer was just like yours. No, I never thought about quitting. I wanted to show them, and
I can do this.
She did because she inspired so many people to give this a try. And then Amelia answered, and she talked about, some struggles she had, when she first started doing YouTube and, some of the comments she'd get and all that kind of stuff. And she said after her very first video, she thought about quitting. But at the end of the day, her advice was like, let it fuel your fire. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of like what I always say is like, let the haters hate. And you know what they hate more than anything is when you don't quit.
Yeah.
And you keep going. You know, all the people that thought you couldn't do it.
Yep.
And they're all the people that are behind your back saying,
they can't do
did
it.
you hear what they're trying to do? He's trying to be a race car driver.
Right. Mm-hmm.
He's a cyclist. Why is he trying to be a race car driver? You know, what they hate the most is that
You did it.
you're doing it.
And still.
Doing it, and you're successful at it. So
20 years later.
let it fuel your fire. So as we wrap up, I usually like to just go around real quick and have everybody just give their, you know, usually humans are capable of one or two takeaways. I think there was probably 37 in this did. So if they do walk away with one, what do each of you hope that it is?
Don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid of pivoting. I think that's the number one thing. It's follow your passion and you'll never work a day in your life.
Right.
I'll add to the cliche book right now. I mean, I always remind myself, you can do anything. You just can't do everything. And, the takeaway. So we are here. A lot of hella folks are here. We've got our marketing agencies here. My takeaway from, if I can just change the question, maybe my takeaway is that everybody looks at, Pikes Peak for the first time and it's just in awe. And I think you look around and I think part of the stress that we put on ourselves is when we're closed in and locked in between these four walls or in a meeting room. Get out. You travel a lot. He travels a lot. You travel a lot. When you're traveling, get in the night before, look around. That to me is a big, this is the big world. This is important. So from a stress standpoint, that's one thing I think this experience can certainly take away.
Yeah. In mine, it's like if you watch any of these podcasts, I feel like my takeaway is always the same one, but it's so applicable. And it's just really being authentic and knowing who you are. And I think you need to look at your career as a discovery process. And you're going to continue to discover things about yourself and passions and things you like and don't like. And just because you've spent 20 years doing one thing doesn't mean you can't spend the next 20 years doing something else and really discovering those, giving yourself the freedom to think that big, right? To dream that big.
Yeah.
Just try it.
Jackie, there's a lot of people who you and I know who are extremely proud of the changes, pivoting that you have done. And so I know you're not very self-deprecating, you're not going to look at it that way. You're constantly all about the other person, but this woman has taken charge of your career and, there's haters, but you've persevered. So give yourself some credit too.
Thanks.
Because I remember the beginning, it was cool. So it's awesome to be on your show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having it.
Yeah. And thank you guys both so much. This was such a fun conversation.
Thank that.
Being here.
And good luck tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
I'm back here with Robb Holland. We got back from Pikes Peak and we had a very exciting win on our hands with Robb. He won his class of Pikes Peak. So we get to have a little bonus round with him and learn a little bit more about the experience. Congratulations, Robb.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Jackie. It was great chatting with you on top of the hill. And, I wanted to talk to you again so much that I had to win to make sure that you guys had me back on the air.
There you go. I'm glad I could help motivate you to do that. I trust that you and the team have celebrated since the win.
Oh yeah, it's always tough though because you're at 14,000 feet. Well, this year unfortunately we didn't go all the way to the top because of the high winds, but we still spent most of the afternoon at 11 or 12,000 feet. So you come back down and you want to celebrate, but you've been at high altitude all day, so you have one beer and you're flat on your butt. So so it was a very short celebration, but it was what we lacked for in time we made up for in enthusiasm.
Yeah, for sure. And I got to tell you, it was kind of emotional because I've never been kind of seen like the backstage of a race before like that, and seeing your team and how devoted they are to every little teeny tiny detail of that car and you and the whole day. And then you are kind of, once for people that don't know, once you go up the hill and you do the race, they're kind of stuck up there until they let all the racers come down at once. So Robb was, up there for a few hours while we were down with the team, just kind of like big load off our shoulders, excited, knowing the whole time that you were in the lead, not necessarily hearing you won yet. But when you came down the hill and seeing you guys kind of celebrate together, it was kind of emotional. And I can imagine like how people just fall in love with this sport. It's a lot of work that goes into a few little moments.
Yeah, no, and for us, it's cool because we're obviously the tip of the spear, and so we get all the accolades, and we're up on the podium, and we get to spray the champagne and everything. But it is fully a team effort, and so for me, I get a lot of pleasure in coming back down the hill and being able to celebrate with the guys and giving them the win, and all of those things, and so I really enjoy it. So it's kind of cool for us because we were up in the mountain for most of the day, and again, this was a bit weird because we were kind of halfway. But we're there for quite some time after you realize that you've won. So you've kind of gone through that celebration, and then you come down the hill and you celebrate with the fans because everybody's cheering you on as you're coming back down. And then you get back down into the pits and you get to celebrate with your crew and everybody again. So it's kind of this never ending celebration. So it's one of the things that makes the race really, really special.
Yeah, it was so exciting to see. Do you have a pretty clear memory of the race? Is there any moments that stand out to you in that few minutes when you're racing that maybe you feel like you did really well or you wish had gone differently? Anything stand out?
Yeah, racers are really critical. We're like golfers in that sense. You hit even the perfect shot, and you're still going to find things in it that you didn't like or that you could have done better. And that's what it is as a driver. I mean, the 99% of the time it goes well and everything's perfect, and then there's 2 or 3 little things that'll just irk you. So nothing major. Obviously we went a little bit later in the day than we were supposed to, so the road temperature was a bit higher, and so there was a couple of corners that I kind of counted on having grip that wasn't quite there. Made a few mistakes. They probably cost somewhere in the second half range. So I wasn't like super it was the perfect run, but it was good. It was really solid. But the fun part is that you kind of get to the end of it, and again, this was unique this year because we only finished it halfway. They had tried to bring as many spectators down the mountain as they could because there are a lot of spectators up at Devil's Playground, and again, the reason they had to basically shorten the race was because it was 120 mile an hour winds up there. So they also didn't want to leave those guys up there all day. So they ended up packing in all the spectators down at Glen Cove. Which kind of made it a really unique thing, and they parked us on the side of the road. So we just wandered into the spectators, into the crowds, and just kind of hung out with them for several hours. So it was good fun. Everybody, they had sandwiches and sodas and stuff like that, and it was a fun day being able to hang out with the spectators.
That's pretty amazing to me that normally the spectators are all the way at the peak and they stay up there that long.
Well, no, I mean people camp out overnight, so they'll come up on the Saturday, and they spend the entire night on the hill to be there because our first run is at 7:30 in the morning, and so they're literally there all day long, and that's what I love about it. I mean, it really is. It's not like going to an F1 race. You buy your ticket, you come in, you see the race, you leave, and you go have dinner or something like that. Like the fans are really committed. But I think in return, they get a really, really amazing event that you don't really see anywhere else. The cars are right there. It's not like there's big catch fencing and everything else, and you're 100 yards away. So, I mean, it is a lot more up close and personal, which for me is a lot more enjoyable. I really I love the energy that we get from all of the spectators and stuff. So it was kind of special this year is to be able to kind of wander into the crowd and basically celebrate with with all of our fans.
Yeah. I mean, that's just you and I and Rob Tinson were up there talking for, I think our episode was like 30 minutes long. And you can tell at the end, I know you haven't seen it yet, but you can tell at the end, like, I'm running out of breath. I'm taking some shallow breaths. So the idea of camping.
Well, imagine for us, I mean, we have to usually spend the whole day up there. If you're in one of the top 15 or 20 cars, you're going to probably be up there from 8 in the morning until 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And to spend that long at, over 14,000 feet, it by the end of the day, you're pretty worn. So it definitely takes it out of you.
Yeah. And I gotta say too, like there's something too about that atmosphere where, I got to see a lot of the drivers, got to meet a lot of the other drivers. And it's like, I know you guys are competition, but you almost wouldn't know it just because there's such good relationships there, it seems like friendships, friendly banter.
Yep. So it's weird. So if you were looking at, how we race in SRO, I mean, it's still a pretty tight knit community there. And for the most part, you get along with your competitors, but there they are truly competitors. They are guys that you are racing directly against and trying to beat. So as friendly as you are, there's still that whole undercurrent of, I'm still going to beat you next time we're on track. Whereas Pikes Peak's a little different because I think we're fighting the mountain more than we're fighting each other, and we also recognize the dangers that Pikes Peak brings, and so we are. It's kind of a band of brotherhood type of thing where we're just in there together, so it's definitely a different feeling in the paddock than you get in most places. So the guys that are racing Pikes Peak, it's a very unique subset of drivers.
Yeah. Well, it was an amazing experience on my end. I hope I get to go back. I'm going to go bug Rob to invite us back. That was such a
We
cool
want you
experience.
back. I mean, it's so great for us to be able to spend that time with you guys at the beginning and kind of let you into our world. And, Hella and Rob have been behind us for years now, and Rob fell in love with the event. And that's kind of the cool thing with that is that, he now wants to bring everybody in. He gets excited about this every year. It's not, sure, they're sponsors, but at the end of the day, he's more excited about sharing the experience with everybody than he is necessarily maximizing every dollar spent or whatever. So I think that's awesome. And then, to be able to bring in like the guys at Mila and H&R and JRZ and all the guys that have been, around with us, Mobile One, it's very cool because each one of them gets that unique perspective and they're so invested in this because it's stuff that you never see anywhere else. And I think that for me is great. So, I mean, I love the fact that you were there and I love the fact that you had a great time and want to come back because that means we're doing something right.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like, honestly, like next year, it would just look a lot different knowing what to expect, and knowing the tension around the day and the starting line, how exciting it is after. Like, it's just a really cool experience. So if anyone has not checked out Pikes Peak, it was pretty amazing. They throw out a pretty cool event there. And it's just all around. I can't think of a single negative thing to say. Even with the wins, it's still a cool experience. Like to see footage of outhouses basically being thrown off the mountain from the wind.
And that's the thing about Pikes Peak is that you just said, hey, look, you're excited about coming back. You're knowing what to expect. And I will tell you, it will be a completely different event next year because it is not the cookie cutter, hey, go to a track and it's this and you can expect it, this, that, and the other. There'll be days where it's just completely sunny and it's beautiful out. There'll be days where it's windy. There'll be days where it's snowing and raining and all these different things that you cannot sit there and go, I understand or I know what I'm going to see next year. And that's what makes it so much fun is that it's not the same thing. So, and it's why I've fallen in love with it. And it's, like I said, it's great to be able to share that enthusiasm with everybody else and see them be enthusiastic about it too. So
well, it'll be amazing next year too. It'll be awesome to see you defend your title, get 2 in a row, hopefully.
Hard work. Those guys will not make it easy for me.
But thank you again for the extra time. Really appreciate it. Congratulations again to you and the team.
Thank you very much, Jackie. I appreciate it. And thanks for having me on. It's really been great chatting with you and, look forward to hopefully doing more of these and seeing you at PRI or SEMA or one of the shows during the rest of the year.
Absolutely. That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.